About Ireland? No. Anybody knows? Nobody knows anything about Ireland. Yeah.
I've been there.
You've been there. That's correct. Yeah, yeah. It's a small country, but it was a very poor country for many, many years because it was under British sovereignty, and literally we only had farming and fishing as our major industries. So we decided maybe about 50, 60 years ago to look at our country and say, how can we develop it? One of the beautiful ways is when you analyse your country and you see how startling it is, how the coastline is, how the towns and the villages are, how the people are, because the people are the most important factor in any tourism project. You can have the most fantastic scenario, but if the people aren't right, you're not going to succeed. So we worked on that. We looked at how we could do it. We developed it to such a way now that it's probably in our top 10 earners. We've developed in other ways. We didn't have high technology before, or we didn't have the pharmaceutical industries. We had no manufacturing industries whatsoever. So we developed it into tourism, and since then we've gone on, and now we're one of the biggest IT countries in the world. All the major players are based in Ireland. Why? Because they felt that the people there, one was a young population, like it is here now. We've got a lot of young people who are bright. Education has always been a major aspect of Russian is that their education system was very, very good. In Ireland, we didn't have it. We were only educated in literally the last 80, 90 years, and that was more a religious education, because under British rule, if you were a Catholic, you didn't have the opportunities to learn. If you're a Protestant, you could go to Trinity College Dublin, and that it was perfect. So it was a kind of a slow process of developing the education program. Now it's very good, and we have situations now where we cater for every aspect of our environment in Ireland. We have universities that specialise in agriculture. We have universities that are top for IT, medicine, so we can compare with almost everyone in the world. Now, what they're saying to me, did it work? Of course it worked. The system, the Irish tourism industry, as I say, is now, it's fantastic because we have a good product. We also have great staff. It's changed a little bit over the last few years because, like any country which progresses and makes a lot of money, the natives tend to get a little bit lazy. They don't want to do subservient jobs. They don't want to be a waiter. They don't want to be a cleaner. So, because of the European Union, and Ireland is a very strong protagonist of the Union, we invited a lot of people from the Baltic states to come in and work. Educated people who came in to work as cleaners, office staff, all the menial jobs. Now it's got to the stage where a lot of them have adapted themselves to the Irish way of life. They realised when they first came, they had this dour face. Oh my God. You walked into someone and said, what do you want? What's it going to do to you? It's going to turn you off. So we developed them, we trained them, so they now have that open-eyed, because eyes are very important to everything, good communication skills, and a concern for the planet. So Irish tourism now is very, very progressive. Coming to me, you say, look at this grey-haired old guy. What does he know about modern tourism? Well, I started, you wouldn't believe it, but I used to be a top sportsman. Don't laugh. I was almost on my country team as a rugby player. Rugby, don't really know, it's a very physical game. I was a good soccer player, I was a good athlete. Tourism was never on my agenda. I wanted to be a sportsman. So I approached, I went and got an invitation to go to Loughborough University, which is the top sports college in the UK. I was accepted, I was delighted. What happens next? I got a bad knee injury, playing rugby, in hospital for 3 months. My dream was shattered for a year. I had to prolong it to go the following year. In the meantime, I'm stuck in England, in a hospital, thinking, what am I going to do? My family's back in Ireland. Do I go back to Ireland or what? And one of the guys I played rugby with said to me, my dad has a travel agency. Would you like to work for him? Just until next year. And I said, of course. So I went in as the office junior, filing, not like computers now, where everything is done like that. It was paper. Everything was done on paper. A bit like Russia, I suppose. There's still a lot of paperwork in Russian bureaucracy. But anyway, it was paperwork, filing, doing menial jobs. But always being proactive, I wanted to get higher. I was a sportsman. I was used to getting to the top. So, literally, I worked, I studied. Within 4 months, I was assistant manager. Surprised me. I was put above the boss's son. That's how intense I worked to make sure I got to it. From that, I continued working, and then I decided this is the job that I love. It offers everything. Travel, meeting people, every day meeting a different person, many different people. And then, of course, when you start traveling, you see the international world. You see how people are in different countries, and you get that bug. Do you understand what a bug is? A little thing, it gets into your brain, and you say, I love this, I want to do it. So I made my mind up I wasn't going to go to university, I was going to concentrate on the tourism. I would never get to the highlights of my rugby career because of the knee, so I concentrated on tourism. Then I got homesick. I'm in England, working, but I miss my family, I miss my friends, I miss the crack. Crack is an Irish word for fun. It's not one of those. So I went home, looking for a job in tourism. Crazy. I had to start at the bottom again. But when I went into it, it was an international company. I was very, very lucky. They were the only ones that would give me a job because I'd had experience in England. And I was very, very lucky that I had a great boss. A boss you could talk to. Someone who'd say to you, something on your mind, he could look at you and say, something's not right here. Come on, Dave, come into the office. What's wrong? And you'd talk to him. You'd express your anxieties over different things that was happening in the workplace. And he'd turn around and he'd pat you on the back and he'd say, good, keep at it. We'll organise it. Within 3 months, I was reservation supervisor. 6 months, I was sales manager. I'm not blowing myself up to be superhuman, but it's because you dedicate yourself to the job. If you ever go into a job and don't put 100% into it, I'm sorry, your chances of success will drop considerably. I believed in it, and I did it. After 3 years, he left, my big boss, my mentor, the man that looked after me all the way through my major career. He left. What did the guys in London who owned the company say? This young guy, I was only 24 years of age at the time, he's got 4 recommendations. They offered me the manager's job. I developed the business, we increased our sales, we did everything, and eventually I became a director. So if you have that goal, never look for that level. Always aim for that, and always keep trying to get to it. So that was my first major. But you probably gathered I'm a little bit of an entrepreneur. I used to send 300 people a week to Tenerife. You know Tenerife in the Canary Islands? Yeah? Anybody been there? Yeah? Where did you go to?
This island?
Fun?
I don't actually remember the place.
Los Cristianos or Playa de las Americas, Puerto de la Cruz. Anyway, I sent 300 people a week there, and there was no Irish bar. There was English bars, German bars, anything. So what did I do? Got on a plane, went down there. I opened the first Irish bar in Spain. Fantastic success. Irish bars now, all over the world. Many of them owned by Russians, but some owned by Irish. That was a success. I came back then to Ireland because I was headhunted by the National Airline to become operations director for the tour operation. I worked in there for a couple of, a short period of time. One of the shortest I've ever had, because I didn't like the way they operated. Because they were governmental, they were very restricted in what they allowed you to do. So, being an entrepreneur, I always wanted to do something special. So, my old company heard I was back and begged me to go in and start again. So I did. And I built them up because they'd gone down in the sales market, and I developed them back up. I always had a lust to do something new, unique in the tourism. So I built on this whilst I was working for them to start up a company which was specifically for the 18 to 30-year-olds. Young people who were just getting into traveling. And I organised beach parties, barbecues, music every night in the complex, where people were mixing with young people. And very, very successful. I made a lot of money. And then George Bush. Anybody know who George Bush is? Yeah, I hate him as well. He invaded Iraq, and of course, oil prices went crazy. I was contracted, because contracting is a major part of business, to airlines for a future 6 months. The costs of oil went crazy, the surcharges went crazy, people didn't travel. Poor me was left with contracts, had to pay the airlines, had to pay the apartment and hotel owners, so I lost everything. I went, boom, down to the bottom. Did I sit there? Did I get depressed? Maybe for 10 minutes, because everybody's allowed to get a little bit depressed. But my advice to everyone is never do it for more than 20 minutes, because then it sticks in your mind. Shake yourself out of it. Say, right, I failed. What am I going to do next? So you then look how you can change your program. I then got into internal holidays. I set up the first incoming to Ireland golf tours, because we have beautiful golf courses all over Ireland. Nobody played on them except the little farmer who went out and hit a few balls. There was no tourists playing it. So I targeted the American market, and again, I made quite a bit of money. And then I worked into other projects. Ireland gave a very good tax concession for people who invested in holiday homes. So very low hypothec rates, 2%. So anybody who had some money could build a holiday home. They then didn't have to pay tax on revenue. So all of a sudden there was something like 3,000, 4,000 holiday homes located all around the coast of Ireland. So I set up a company which was called Ireland Explored, which did holidays all around Ireland, 3 nights in one place, and then moving on to the next resort. And I marketed that all over Europe, and it was fantastic. Which comes to how I came to Russia. Because at the end of the Balkan War, that area was in chaos. It lost all its tourism and everything. And I was making a presentation at the World Travel Mart in London about how Ireland, a small country, could develop its tourism. Somebody from Slovenia was there and said, would you like to come and have a glass of wine with our Minister of Tourism? So I went. We had a couple of bottles of wine. He spoke no English. My German was very rusty. He spoke German. But at the end of it, they invited me to go to Slovenia to have a look at the country and see how we could develop the tourism. Which I did. We implemented things like agritourism. They do a lot of beautiful wines there, and vineyards. And one of my suggestions was that government should give money to these vineyard owners who produce their own wine to build maybe 2 or 3 small apartments, which they could rent out to people. And they could show them how the wine was processed and everything, and then they would buy some of the wine, they would go back and spread the word. I met somebody 3 months ago, and we were talking. He was from Slovenia, and he said, I said, how's the tourism going? He said, oh, great. He said, a friend of mine has made a lot of money because he now has 3 farms producing wine, 3 vineyards producing wine. He got government grants nearly 20 years ago. He paid them off after 3-4 years, and now he's making a lot of money. And I kind of said, at least I did something right. They introduced me to people from Croatia, Serbia, who were their enemies in the war, but yet we talked and I'd helped them, and then someone suggested I come to Russia. Because in those days, in Russia, you had tour operators, not very efficient ones, and you had In-Tourist. Anybody remember In-Tourist? Wonderful organization. But they didn't really look after the tourist. It was everything was set out, you do this, do that. There was no flexibility. And in tourism, you need flexibility. People don't want to just be, unless you're an American on the tour of Europe and today's Amsterdam, tomorrow is Rome. You need to allow people to get to enjoy the facilities, enjoy the people, meet the people. In Russia in those days, it was not really the done thing. So I spent a few months here, coming back and forward, trying to change the mindset of some of the tour operators. It was very difficult. First, they were full of enthusiasm, but after a little while, they continued to do their own thing. So I'd fallen in love with the country. I love the people. Russian and Irish people have a lot in common. We like fun. We've been restricted for many, many years, and now we're out and enjoying each other. So I decided that I was going to come here and do something. And a friend of mine was developing tourism properties in Bulgaria. So I got involved with him in the construction business, building complexes from green fields up to the finished article. Very, very interesting, and we were selling it on the Russian market, because in those days, Bulgaria was very, very popular as a tourist destination for the Russian people. 2008, 2009, economic collapse. What do you do? I just got married to a beautiful Russian lady, and I said, what do I do next? I'd sold my small hotels. I had 2 hotels in Ireland, small ones, one a small boutique hotel and another one on the River Shannon with a marina and everything. And economically, I decided I was going to sell them and reside here in Russia because I was making too much money. And of course, when the collapse came, it's what do you do? So since then, because I have a vast management experience, I started doing management training. I almost, you could call myself a life coach as well, because I found with a lot of my Russian clients, they were afraid to talk about their problems and the problems in their business with people in their offices, because there was this awareness. They didn't want people to see a sign of weakness. They didn't want people to know too much about what they were doing. So I was very, very lucky that some of my clients, one of them was the financial director of Rosa Kuter, and we got together, and he was a young, progressive guy, and we developed him. Now he's, as you can see, he's number 2 in the organization, and Rosa Kuter it's a fantastic ski resort. What it's lacking is international tourism. This is a problem, but we can talk about that later. So for the last few years, I've been doing some coaching in tourism and in business in general, and also some life coaching. But tourism is my love. The bug is still there, and I hope it stays with me. Thanks. Now, I believe some of you want to ask some questions. Is that right?
Давайте, ребятки, спросите, это ваш шанс действительно узнать вот про менеджмент в вашей сфере от реального практика.
Don't get me wrong, I'm only using this because I got a little indication of some of the questions you're going to ask me, and I wasn't quite sure whether all of you spoke good enough English, so I just kept this.
Не бойтесь, если не получится на английском спросить, я переведу.
So don't be afraid. If you're not, I would love you to speak in English, but if you're afraid, I'm quite sure that Samira will translate for you. But please try to communicate with me, because I'm not going to bite. I'm easygoing. You want to say something?
Yes, I want to ask you a question. Do you really think that it is worth learning tourism management in Russia?
Could you just repeat that, please?
It is very worth it to learn
Well, yeah, I understand what you're saying. First of all, I think this country has some fantastic opportunities in tourism. There have to be some changes. They are happening because I see it on a regular basis. But it's almost like a volcano. It has to explode. You have so many beautiful things here, but most foreign tourism only know Moscow, St. Petersburg, and possibly a little bit of the Golden Ring. So there are far more interesting places in Russia. This is what has got to develop. And in the CIS in general, tourism has never been a major factor. So yes, I think there is tremendous opportunities here. You're very, very lucky. You have a fantastic faculty here, which gives you the opportunity to learn everything about tourism, that gives you the opportunity to get a degree, because when I was young, we never had these facilities. I had to go to night school and study in my own time, having worked 8 hours a day. You're blessed, you're lucky. Get your examinations, but the one little bit of advice I would give, because tourism is international, you definitely need 1 or 2 languages. English primarily is the language of tourism, but depending on your specification, if you speak German or French or Spanish, certainly and nowadays, Chinese, you've got an opportunity to have a specialism with languages. It depends what type of tourism you want to get involved in, because there are so many different aspects of it. So, good luck. I think you should do it. Anyone else got a question?
When you start to work on a project, what is the first thing to think about? Money that you make from it, or people and how they can enjoy it?
I've been lucky that I've been involved in startup operations 5 times in my life. Some have failed, I've lost a lot of money, some of them have succeeded. If you first go in saying, I want to make a lot of money, that takes your eye, as to say, off the ball. You've got to concentrate on getting that product perfect. The financial aspect of it comes a little bit later in life. Come up with a concept. Or if there's already a concept out, and I shouldn't really say this, but if you can steal aspects of that and improve on it, don't do the same. If you do the same, the chances are you will not succeed. You've got to have that little niche operation. Like I said, I did the 18 to 30s because nobody else was doing it. It was successful. So, yeah, money comes down later, and we can talk about finances at some other stage if you want, but I think I'm answering your question, am I? Okay? Anyone else?
I want to ask a question concerning Russian tourism. What do you think are the most potential and profitable directions of developing tourism in Russia, like ecotourism, agriculture? What will be successful?
You've hit on a nail that I like, ecotourism, because in Ireland we did the same, and as I said, it's now developed throughout Europe as an important factor for it. But Russia is so vast. This is a problem that you would have with ecotourism, because it's the cost of getting to it for a foreigner coming into Russia and then maybe going out 300-400 kilometers to a farm or something like that. You could target the Russian market, but you're not going to make a lot of money. So ecotourism, I think, is a little difficult to expand on here in Russia. What you do have, as I've said previously, is a beautiful landscape. You've got a development of people, and I've noticed this dramatically in the 18 years that I've been coming here, is that young people are changing dramatically. When I first came here, as I said, people had long faces, very serious. Nowadays, young people are more vibrant. You've seen the world. You're texting, you're sending messages, you're totally complex on the internet and what have you. So you've developed. You're now developing to the next stage, which, if you're in tourism, one of the major aspects that you must have is a smile, eyes, because this is where the country will develop next in tourism. Moscow is slowly doing it, St. Petersburg is doing it, but you've got to look at the other aspects of it. You've got Rosakhutor. I know, because I've worked with them, what they've invested in making that complex comparable with most of the complexes in Europe. It's not the top one, but I think that will develop later. But you can only do so much. You've got to get people to travel to it. If you look at places like Baikal is beautiful, but the limited number of people that are going to travel from America to Moscow to Irkutsk just to see it is minimal. So you've got to look at markets which you can develop. The fastest growing market at the moment in Russia is China and Japan. You've only got to walk around Red Square and you think you're in Beijing. So it's got potential, but you've got to look at something unique to get away from the city, what I call the city tours. You've got the cruises on the Volga. But again, I was talking to somebody in tourism, and they say 97% of people who go on Volga cruises are Russian. It's creating this invitation from people outside of Russia to come here.